put on the talit. Normally, the talit is a gift that's given by the bride as a way of considering the concept of the hupa. This hupa is a canopy actually, but in Spanish and Portuguese traditions, the talit itself was the hupa. It wasn't necessarily this canopy. This became more Eastern European, Ashkenazic tradition to put a chuppah in that fashion. But usually they would throw over the talit on the groom, who would then, after the initial blessing, would also uncover her wife-to-be, and thus be under the same talit together in unity. And that is an old tradition that you don't see it quite often, but it is being revived again. And you'll see it in places in New York and other places which the Sephardic customs. You're going to see a lot of difference, like there is no yichud room, where usually in a lot of the Hasidic or Ashkenazic customs, they'll have the bride and the groom go sit 15 minutes out. So there's a lot of differences that you will see in this wedding tonight than perhaps you may be accustomed to. And this is where the Sephardic, Spanish, Portuguese tradition comes into play. So I'm going to ask right now for Rivka to come forward, and she is going to go ahead and put on the talit. It's called Echar el Talit on her son. Bendito seas tú, Señor, Dios del universo, que me has dado la oportunidad de echar talit sobre mi hijo. You could say, Amen. Now, at this point, one of the obligations in the Torah is basically two parts in the wedding: the erusin, which is when the Hatan takes the woman to be his wife, and will be offering her what's called the rings. Many times in the old times, there wasn't necessarily a ring, but actual money, and that's why you'll see in many Sephardic siddurs that you have the option of either saying about the ring or saying about the money, because the money was the exchange that in fact I am acquiring my wife-to-be, and she is accepting it. There is never anything done in Jewish weddings that is forced weddings. No shotgun wedding. There's no such thing in that in Judaism. But what you do see is that her silence is her consent, and this plays a very important part in Judaism. So what we're going to do now is we're going to ask Baruch haba for the bride-to-be to come. Baruch haba.
We should probably stand.
I want the bride and groom to please come around here and turn facing me. And I'm going to also ask for the witnesses to come forward as well.
Who are the witnesses?
This is the first part of the wedding called the nusin, and we're going to basically say the blessing over the wine. And wine always represent joy and simcha. So I'm going to say the two blessings here, and then afterwards I'm going to have the two witnesses be appointed. Well, they were already appointed earlier to be witnesses on the ketubah. And what we're going to do is, right after this, I'm going to read the ketubah under here, and then we're going to do it with the ring. Sefri Marinan, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagefen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al harayot, ve'asar lanu et harusot, ve'chetil lanu et hanesuot lanu al yedei chuppah v'kedushin. Baruch atah Adonai mitchadesh amo Yisrael yedei chuppah v'kedushin. Amen. Now we're going to read the ketubah and the contract. Although she's already seen the ketubah, she has agreed to receive the ketubah. But now, officially under the chuppah, we're going to read the ketubah. And in many customs, you're going to notice that in many circles, they'll read it in Hebrew. This is not necessarily required by halakha. It is more a minhag. And it's very important that the couples understand the terms of the agreement. And the reason why in Spain and Portugal they continue to read it in Spanish or in Ladino was to make sure that the couples were aware of the terms of the agreement. And in today's exile, I think that is an important part of making sure and ensuring that each couple knows exactly what they're getting into. And thus, according to that tradition, this is why reading it into the vernacular is more important than reading into the Hebrew, although the contract is in Hebrew. This ketubah witnessed before God and the Jewish community, family and friends, on the Wednesday, 4th day of the week of the 24th day of the month of Kislev in the year 5774, corresponding to November 27, 2013. The Holy Covenant of Marriage was entered into in Deerfield Beach between the groom, Kenny Rodriguez, his Hebrew name Caleb Ben Emmanuel, and the bride, Naomi Saneli, Hebrew name Naomi Batsara, according to the laws and traditions of Moses and Israel. And each affirmed to the other, I promise to stand by you always, to be joy to your heart and food to your soul, to bring out the best in all ways for you and to be the most that I can be, to laugh with you in good times and struggle with you through life challenges. May we strive to bring fruition both are shared in our individual hopes and dreams. Let us build a home on a foundation of trust, respect, generosity of spirit, guided by Torah values and tradition, and may our lives be embraced by warmth, peace, and love, and we grow old, may we walk together hand in hand, still feeling the sweetness of our devotion, and I give myself without reservation to our union and welcome you as my partner in life. May our home and our family be bestowed with blessing and peace, and may our home and family be bestowed with blessing and peace. And it was signed by Caleb Rodriguez and also witnessed by two fellow observant Jews and signed by myself here. Okay, so this will be a contract that we will give to you, and this will be your guarantee in the event you have a protection that you would have to pay a lot of silver and gold on this one. Okay, so put this close to your heart, and now put it. Just put it underneath your arm. Your heart. You also put it for safekeeping. We'll put it here. That way you have it there. And I'll watch over it. Make sure it doesn't take it. Okay. Now at this time, we're going to ask the two witnesses to take a look at the ring. Now this is the ring. Yes. Okay. Can you please open it up? in English, it's okay. Now this is is this worth at least a pruta?
Yeah.
Did you say this is worth a pruta?
Absolutely.
Pruta, for those who don't know, that's at least $5. Okay. So you say that's worth $5?
Yes. If you want it.
Now, I'm going to have you say this, because if I say this, then I'm marrying her, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to have you say this, and you're going to put your right index, and I need the witnesses to make sure you see this take place, because obviously this is a transaction here, okay? So I'm going to have you say this right here. Yahare.
הרי עת מקודשת לי את אהבת זו כדת משה בישראל.
Amen. Now, did anyone hear her talk in opposition? No. I mean, she accepts it with her silence. Now, after this there was a tradition afterwards that normally Jewish men don't wear wedding rings because they have the obligation to support, maintain the wife. But being in America, I don't know if you have a ring? No ring? Okay. Okay. So in some occasions, they do give, the bride does give a ring to the man, but it's more of recent innovation. Okay. Now, what we're going to do now is the second part of this ceremony, which immediately, we already covered the two parts, and the issue of the 7 brachos. Now, I'm going to pass it over to the microphone. He's going to call. Yeah, this is where we're going to do. This is where we're going to go now. So I'm going to ask, who's going to be the first blessing? Yes, Lane for the blessing. Now, okay, who has the honor to give the first blessing? Okay. Let me see. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagefen.
We already did that one.
The bride and groom would like to have Barry Katz, family friend of the bride, honor them with the second blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shakol bara v'vodo.
The bride and groom would also like to have Tony Lawrence, uncle of the bride, honor them with the third blessing.
I think that was great.
Oh, you like it? Okay.
Even the white one is.
Yeah, it's all good.
You have a beautiful color.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer ha'adam. Amen.
Amen.
It's 7 blessings and we give one. Okay.
The bride and groom would also like to have Mark Butler, family friend of the groom, honor them with the fourth blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer haren. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher ya'er yitzar et ha'aron b'tzelemu b'tzelem Demo Hamnito Sehi Keen Lo Memeno Bin Yain Binyan Ade Ad Baruch Atah Adonai Yotzer Ha'adam.
Amen.
Amen.
Sorry. The bride and groom would like to invite Chuck Peterson, family friend of the groom, up to give the fifth blessing.
You know him. You know him.
So, Tesis, Betagel, Ha'akara, Bikibutz, Beneha, Letocha, Besimcha, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mesameach Tzion, Bevaneha.
Amen.
The bride and groom would like to honor Richard Rosen, family friend of the groom, to give the sixth blessing.
You're almost up, baby. You're almost up. Make sure you do it well.
So maakt te smaken re'im achuvim כשם מחכה יצירka בגן עדן מקדם. ברוך אתה אדוני משמח חתן וחלה.
Amen.
And the bride and groom would like to honor Ruben Salazar, good friend of the groom, to give the seventh blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bara saso v'simcha chatan v'kala asher bara saso v'simcha chatan v'kala gila rina nitzachedva chava ve'achva ve'shalom ve'yudut me'er Adonai Eloheinu yeshama ve'adei Yehuda ve'hatzot Yerushalayim כל ששון וכל שמחה, כל חתן וכל כלה, כל פיצלות חתנים ומכובדם, נערים ומשתי נגינתם, ברוך אתה אדוני, משמח חתן עם הכלה.
Amen. Now, I'm going to ask, I think you're very cool, okay? I'm going to ask you if you can give the Kohanim Beracha.
There, Adonai Moshe, Moed Abraham, Jan, Adonai Moed, Kohen Gurglas, Bnei Israel, Amalachet, Yevanecha, Adonai Vishponecha,
Amen.
Yevanecha, Boda, Yevanecha,
Amen.
Adonai Boda, Yevanecha, Shalom.
Amen.
Israel, Ani Amecha.
Amen.
Now, that's not in the liturgy. However, it's always good that when the Kohen is present, since they have a special privilege, a special benachot, that they give over to all Kalal Yisrael. And in this case, that benachot, I could sense it, and it was very powerful. And may you have many, many kinderlach, like they say in Yiddish, and a lot of bracha, a lot of hatzlacha. Yeah, a little bit of a Ashkenaz over here, right? So a lot of blessings to both of you.
Amen.
Amen. Now I'm going to have you take this, drink a little bit. And then I want you to give to your now, one of the things that we say as we introduce a very old tradition in in Jewish weddings, which has to do with the glass. Okay. In this one. Which one? No, no. One of the things that we basically say is, if I forget thee, O Jerusalem, may my right hand be forgotten. I'm translating it from, if my tongue stick to my mouth, so if I don't remember you, and I don't lift up Jerusalem above all of my joy, the greatest joy. Of course, in all simchas, there's a little bit of sadness, because we do not have a sense of completeness. There's always something we have to work towards, and that is the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash. And we do that by the way we act with one another. Even it starts at the wedding, when we behave as if all that matters is the other person, then without a doubt we will see the building of the Beit HaMikdash. But as long as we think about ourselves first, we take away from that possibility. We remove that possibility. When we have internal infightings, that destroys the purpose and drive to unite all of Israel and see the temple rebuilt in our time. So, Kenny would say this will be the last time you're going to put your foot down. Mazal